Hello, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Christabel, the original Power Ranger princess. But on this channel, I am Princess Power Ranger. It's been a while since I've been on YouTube, so I'm so happy to be sitting down making a video. I just want to first send love to all of my supporters, everyone who's messaged me on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. You guys really mean the world to me. So thank you. Now, I apologize for the lighting. I noticed when I shoot videos from my laptop that you can't hear a damn thing that I'm trying to say. So it's much better this way. So please excuse, all this lighting. So I currently live in Thailand and I'm a teacher. I teach science and English. Now, in order for me to teach in Thailand, I needed to get what is called a non-B working visa. A non-B working visa basically allows you to stay as long as, the school has a contract with you. So I went to Vientiane. I took the worst way possible to Vientiane, and Vientiane is the capital city of the country of Laos. So Laos is just above Thailand, and you can actually drive all the way up to the border in Laos, the friendship border, and stay in Laos for a couple of days, and then you get re-entry back into Thailand. So a lot of people do this. A lot of people do border runs, and I was doing a border run. Now, the day that I went to Laos, a minivan picked me up. There were four of us. There was another teacher from the Philippines, an older woman from England, as well as a guy from Ukraine. So we're going to call the guy from Ukraine Vlad. Now, on the way to Laos, me and Vlad didn't really talk because he was sitting next to the driver and I was in the back talking to the Filipino girl. But when we got off, everyone started talking about their plans, and him and me had like a cigarette, and we decided we were gonna stay, and I'm gonna butcher the names of all of these towns. I'm so sorry for anyone who is Laotian and listening. But we stayed in a town called Zhuangzia or something like that. And yeah, like me and Vlad just really hit it off instantaneously. I think often when you meet people, there is a tendency, if you are someone that maybe has gone through things, to trauma bond with different types of people. And there's nothing wrong with this. I think the issue sometimes is, as trans women, being too vulnerable can often be the cause for you being unalived. But being in a situation where you're with a guy and he doesn't know you're trans can also lead to a situation where you're unalived. It's a very complicated dynamic. Now, you probably know where this video is going. During the day when me and Vlad were hanging out, we were drinking and we ended up going to some like monument, and we ended up just hanging out and having a great time. For me, like, I think because I transitioned many years ago and I dated different types of guys and I've been in long-term relationships, The male gaze no longer does it for me. Getting attention from men no longer feeds my soul in the way that it used to when I was in my 20s. And that's just a part of growing up. I think over time I've become very self protective of my energy and very mindful, really, of the types of characters that I choose to allow into my space, even into my body, or me into their body, however way you want to look at it. But I've basically learned over time that just because a guy is pouring his heart out on you does not mean, just because a guy likes you doesn't mean you like him. You get that? Trans women, especially in early transition, we get caught up with wanting to be stealth so much that at a subconscious level, a straight passing hetero, all of that man who's giving you attention and does not bring up the trans issue allows you to experience what it's like to have a man court you just as a woman and nothing else. Now, in the beginning of transition, this is an exciting yet scary part of transition. I look at it as the risk reward dynamic, in that so many trans women, myself included, when I was younger, we'd be in spaces where we would flirt with danger. Now, I could tell Vlad liked me, and if I wasn't busy trying to get my visa and with a million and other things that I was focused on, maybe I would have told him that I was trans. But the reality is, I felt, and I still do feel, strongly so, that I don't have to be vulnerable with a guy that I'm not even going to date. Just because somebody likes you and sees you as a woman and wants to be with you sexually, does it mean that you want them realistically, despite their looks, despite all of these other things, you know? And, girl, I was trying to get to Vientiane, the capital, and he was going back to Thailand. So he flirted and stuff, and it was adorable. But him being from a country that, is all white, he did have some tendencies that made me believe that he didn't necessarily have respect for black people, which for me, that's a red flag. Like, come on now. So then I leave and we keep in contact. Like, I kept his number. I'm not going to be rude. But I was very mindful of making sure that he respected my boundaries. He could, I mean, we were hanging out and getting drunk, and he was getting all googly eyed. And I had to change because it started raining, and the dress I changed into, I wasn't wearing a bra. So my nipples were hard, and he could see them, and my hair was back. And I remember he had this concerned look on his face. And he was like, please, please stop torturing me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Goodness. And we laughed about it. But he understood. I'd sort of set the dynamic that, look, we're just hanging out today. Like, I don't know you. You do not know me. And I'm not interested in sex right now. And you don't know, you don't even know anything about me. So I leave and I end up in another city and have to go then to Vientiane, which means I miss out on my appointment. So, well, when I say I miss out on my visa appointment, I made it on time, but I was late. And I had to beg them to set up another appointment, which they did, but for the following week. So that meant I had to stay in Vientiane. I love that city, by the way. Except to all my Laotians. I have to stay in Vientiane for longer than expected. So what do? I'm walking the streets of the city. Everything is lit up. Everything is just exotic and beautiful. And what do I see? I turn my head and I see a hostel with not one, not two, but three Black African men watching what? A Nollywood movie, a Nigerian movie. Girl, I haven't seen Black people in a very long time. And living in another country, you do become homesick. So my silly self checks into the hostel. I talk to some of the guys. They're all friendly. I find out that there are a ton of Africans there. And I'm like, I miss this. I miss us. I miss, being with people that phenotypically look like me, people who don't grab my hair, who don't try to, all of that I missed. So I was excited to be in this hostel. And I usually stay at hotels, but I just felt like my soul needed to connect with other Africans. And I mean, I've stayed at hostels before and had a grand old time. Now, the problem with hostels is that it often attracts a certain type of guy that, like a passport bro. I realized after I had paid and checked in that I was the only female up in there. It was all dudes. Hold on. I live next to an airport and I'm trying to pause it so you guys don't hear it, but I'll just continue. So I'm in this hostel, right? And it's all, straight heterosexual biological men who, for all intents and purposes, like straight heterosexual biological and sometimes bisexual women. And for me, the thing is, there's a term called stealth. And as a trans woman, you can often fluctuate between your passability in society. So here I am staying at this place, and there were about 8 different guys that I was chilling with. So here I am. It's my fantasy, right? My fantasy when I was 24 to be the girl in the group and have all these guys Google on me, right? Girl. This one guy, we're going to call him Musa. Musa was from Mali and very friendly, very warm towards me, but immediately sexualized me. And because Musa went out of his way to talk about my ass, my hips, how sexy I was, and bringing attention to the other guys, what happened is that men have a tendency, if they feel that there is only one girl in the space, to compete against each other, not because they want the girl, but because they want to assert themselves as the alpha in that space. And one of the best ways to assert yourself as an alpha is when you are able to be the only one who's able to get the girl in the group. So I'm a trans woman. I differentiate between women and trans women, but you get what I'm saying, right? So, girl, tell me why these dudes started flirting, and they were very, very sweet. And I was uncomfortable because of how aggressive they were, number one. Number two, I was like, oh, holy shit, like they're smoking weed in Laos. And for me, like, if you know anything about like Laos, you would know like weed is illegal. Like, they will lock your ass up. Like, it's not worth it, Bob Marley, Snoop Dogg. It's not, like, don't. Just, I don't know, like, get a beer and a cigarette and call it a day. But they were sat out in public and they start pulling the joints out. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm like, first of all, we're all black sat up here in Asia. Everyone's already staring at us. We are already a target for the police. No, I had my little sip of alcohol. I didn't finish it. I smoked my cigarette. I could have sat and basked in the fact that they were giving me all this attention. I could have sat up with them, sat on their laps. I could have let them touch me. I could have done all of that. But that would have been deceptive and it would have put my life in danger. And also, I was only interested in maybe, I was only interested in the two South African guys, but the one had a girlfriend. Ones I would have considered. The two South African guys, the Ghanaian guy. Oh my God, yes. Musa was too aggressive. I didn't like that. There was this one Asian boy. I didn't get his name. And that was another annoying thing. The guys were all speaking over each other, not giving anyone a chance. And I knew that I was not going to have sex with any of them. I was not going to tell any of them that I was trans because I didn't know how they would respond, number one. Number two, I don't owe anyone my vulnerability. So they can do what? Use it against me? Number three, I was leaving. Like, I decided when they were out smoking weed that I wasn't going to sit in that space and potentially get locked up with them. So, I kept it demure. I was cutesy. I was mindful. I sipped my little alcohol. And I gave them all hugs. And you know how guys are, and they don't want you to leave. And they're like, it's so early. You have to stay. It's not even 9. But I needed them to understand that I was not a video vixen or some black exotic sexual creature that has been unleashed out of my cage for their consumption. One of them asked me why I was so dressed up. Babe, I'm the most always. Like, I'm not dressing up for the male gaze, but rather it helps me align with femininity. So I knew I wasn't gonna fuck any of these dudes. That's what I mean. So I kept it demure. I hugged them and went up to my room. Bruh, tell me why there is no lock on my door. It can't lock. Anyone can just open it. Fear and panic sets in because I sleep naked. Girl, I mean, eventually I calm down and I'm like, none of those guys would ever just come into my room. So, I'm having a good time. I play with myself a little bit, as adults sometimes do. I watch a documentary, have something to eat, and I'm getting ready to sleep. It's about 11:30. Tell me why the Ghanaian guy, we're going to call him Ethiok. Tell me why Ethiok is knocking on my door. He starts knocking and I jump out of bed and I'm like, hold on, I'm going to open just now. Pull my panties up, lightning speed, as the door is opening, and he does that little thing of, oh, you're changing. And I quickly like cover myself, and luckily the types of clothes that I wear, like this dress for example, it comes off super quick, super easy. It can just, so I put on something like this, something that I could just, and he's all like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just, I was looking for you. I got you some food. And I was like, oh, thank you, sweetheart. That's very kind of you. However, you can't just barge into my room. Come on now. I was very polite, but I politely asked him to leave my room. It took about 5 minutes to convince this boy to leave. He insisted I take some of the food, which, I did. And he asked me to come down, which I was like, no, I really can't. And at this point, I was spooked. So I couldn't really sleep that night because I was afraid someone was just going to come in. So obviously, I have to check out. Girl, like, I have to check out, And it's not to say that I did not enjoy those guys, puffing up their feathers, trying to talk to me. I had some wonderful kick-ass conversations. One of them showed me the city. A lot of them went into protector mode because they could see how the other guys were acting towards me, just very aggressively. So I knew that there were certain guys there who were just very protective of me, and being in that space is nice, but let's not play with our lives. I was there to get my working visa so I can teach, not so that I can be some man's fantasy or try and relive a fantasy of needing validation from a biological heterosexual, heteronormative, non-trans attracted man. I didn't need that at that point. I needed to know that I was safe and that I could get my visa and I could get back to Thailand. So I say my goodbyes, and one of the guys who had turned me around offers to help me with my luggage and help get me a cab. So he's helping me with my luggage, and he jumps in the cab with me. So, we're keeping it cool, having a nice conversation about culture, heritage. I get to my hotel, and he's helping me with the bags, which, listen, uppity African over here. Uppity African. Like I claim it, those bags were heavy. So he's carrying the bags. And we get to reception, and the receptionist is like, okay, in Thailand we say Sawasdee Ka. In Lao, what was the greeting again? Oh, I forgot. But we greet each other in my really bad Laotian. And he's like, this room is booked, I see, for one person. And I'm like, yes, I'm the guest. Yes, Christabel, right over here. Thank you. You need my passport? What do you need, boo? Help me check into my room. I'm expecting the guy who brought my luggage to now leave. Tell me why he asked the guy for a charger. He asked the guy for, when you go into a hotel, they offer you a towel because it's so humid here, just to like, you know what I mean? So he asked for that, and I'm like, I'm the guest. Even I didn't ask for that, and they should offer it. He starts talking to the receptionist as though he's the guest. Tell me what, like, I'm busy, like, explaining to the receptionist, trying to cut this guy off and being like, no, there's only one guest, only me. Please help me check into my room. And this guy is like, yeah, come on. And I'm like, him and the receptionist walk to my room. The receptionist leaves this guy in my room, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I asked him to sit on the balcony because with African men, you have to handle certain African men with a level of respect and decorum. So we're sitting outside the balcony for 30 minutes, and I'm basically trying to tell him, to leave. Eventually, I convince him. I tell him that, I'm having a panic attack, which I was. He eventually walks out. Like, I make sure he leaves, and I make sure that it is locked up in there. And then I do have my panic attack. I turn to the receptionist and I'm like, please do not allow random people into my room. Do not give them my keys. Do not give them access to my space. If I've told you in no uncertain terms that no, I'm not with this person, it is only one single guest, and if I'm trying to like pull you away, don't do that. And the guy was so like, the receptionist was so like horrified, and he was like, oh my God, I didn't know. Like, I assumed, because we were both black, he was like, I assumed you guys were together. And I'm like, no. So that's not even the worst of it. Like, I'll tell you about the sugar daddy experience. Should I call it a sugar daddy experience? The sugar stalker experience. I'll make that in my next video. But the point of this video is, so often as trans women, the only reason we like the men we like is because they've pursued us. And deep in our hearts, we feel that we're not worthy enough to be pursued. And when you've never had a guy, like date you or show you off to his friends or try to beat other guys over so he can talk to you, oh my gosh, it's so alluring. And I've gotten myself into some tomfoolery messing with that. But now I'm older and I don't view that kind of attention as anything worth writing home about. Like, I take no pride in taking a biological, heteronormative, heterosexual, non-trans attracted man away from a biological woman. I don't need to do all of that. Like, my goals are different. You know what I mean? Like, my whole trajectory for my life, for my future, it's not so much centered around relationships and men as much as it was. I enjoy the flattery. I mean, who wouldn't? Walking into a room and feeling like you're the princess. Come on. But there has to be a certain level of respect because I'm not just gonna like sleep with anyone. I honestly, and I know this might sound arrogant, but with no hubris, my body is a temple, not an amusement park that's just going to be used and abused by the diddlers of the world. It's sacred. I understand that I enjoy sex too, but there are so many ways that I can have sex with partners that know about me being trans in ways that are fulfilling and honest and don't require this game. I was there to do other stuff, and these guys were thirsty. I mean, it was fun to be chased around, but there were moments where I was like, can you knock it off? Because there are so many other girls. Like, there are literally biological women out there begging to be picked. For me, it baffled my mind that I was sat up there in a room of predominantly black men. And I have, dark skin. I'm very, very black. You can tell I'm black. And they were just going on about how beautiful and exotic I was. And I'm like, There are so many like black women that like need to hear you say this. And they're like, and they have the coochiana, they have the power of the pussy, you know. And even if they were into trans girls, I wasn't trying to have sex with any of, well, if they had actually, no, I wasn't trying to have sex with any of them. Some of them were very delicious to look at. And I think there's no problem in that, you know, like, look, you know, like, feast your eyes on the beautiful men that exist in this world, but only allow the one that is worthy of your time, your effort, your energy to win your time. You don't have to trick men, you don't have to play games. And I'm pretty sure one of those dudes clocked me. I mean, I have a literal like Adam's apple like right here, and I'm very, very thin. So, especially if I pull my hair back, you can kind of see with my shoulders